Hello everyone, and welcome to the back porch, where it's a lovely day and I'm going to take a couple of minutes here to talk about a new book that was sent to me by the lovely folks at DriveThru RPG, PDF, and this was provided for the purpose of review. This is You Are Not Deadpool, Marvel Multiverse Mission by Tim Dedopoulos, published by Aconite Books, which is part of Asmodee Entertainment. All right, now that's done. Have you ever played an adventure game book? If you're as old as I am, chances are you have either a choose your own adventure or possibly fighting fantasy presented by Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson. It took me a long time to realize there were a whole lot of other writers operating under that heading. But it's the same principle here. This is a book you play by yourself, and you move between paragraphs. So at the end of each paragraph, you get a choice of which way you're going to go, what you're going to do, how are you going to react to a certain situation. You select the paragraph and you move to it. You read the next section and it tells you some more, and so on until you die or conclude the story. There are rules in it. So unlike something like Choose Your Own Adventure, where it seems like you died every other page, this part of your survival hinges on dice rolling. In this case, 6-sided dice and statistics of Merc, Mouth, and Focus, representing, in this case, more things that Deadpool can do rather than you, because as the title says, you are not Deadpool. Merc is physical stuff, Mouth is social, Focus is mental. And then throughout the game, you pick up qualities, which you then write down in brackets, and they get scores, and they might, the same thing with objects, and these might affect certain things later on. Can you get through here? Well, do you have an access card? Did you pick up a car? Etc., etc. The system is very simple. And we'll go through this a little bit and talk about how effective it is at portraying the character of Deadpool and what it might be like to work with Deadpool. Because the premise of this is that Deadpool finds you in New York City and sort of drafts you into a job. He does note, and you're kind of referred to this way throughout the text, as number 6, because he's had 5 other assistants prior who I presume have not survived. Not that they have retired or left, but that they are ex-assistants. They have ceased to be. So, things that we'll be looking at throughout play are, does this feel like a superhero adjacent story? In this case, you're investigating some weapons coming into New York City, alien guns. So does it feel kind of like an investigation or a street level Marvel story? Does Deadpool feel like Deadpool? Though Ryan Reynolds has a very popular depiction of him, he's been written by a number of others, and they may also worm their way in here, but this is the author's own take on Deadpool. I can tell you right now that so far a lot of the language does feel very Deadpool-y. So we'll see how it goes as we go throughout the game, and also whether or not we feel by we I mean me, feel that the rules really get this kind of game across. I'm going to try to not cheat or jump through things. I can't I guess I can bookmark. I can't stick my fingers in pages and then go back when I realize that the paragraph I chose has led me to my ultimate demise. But I can't hit back on my reader, so maybe I can do that. One of the neat things about this is the copy that you'll get from DriveThru RPG comes as a PDF and an EPUB. I think a Mobi, and there might have been another version too, but I only care about the first two. thankfully, and I mean, it should be no surprise and shouldn't be any different, it is hyperlinked to the paragraphs, which, yay. Honestly, if that hadn't happened, I might have been like, ugh. But let's be honest, it's not a major feature to include, but it's a really good quality of life feature. So, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. We're not going to do like an actual play of it, but I might read a small section or two just to give you an idea of what things are like. Because, well, there's literally no point in me reading through it, and also, you're not here just to watch me read constantly. But let's go here. This is, okay, this might be a good spot to go. So let's start from this paragraph here, paragraph 6. As I said, the story is about Deadpool bringing you in to help him investigate alien guns coming into the city and who's behind it, what are they doing, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to spoil it, but as an example of gameplay, let's start here. Paragraph 6. The office looks blandly impersonal, more like a high-end IKEA display room than a space anyone actually works in. There's a computer terminal on the desk, a neat pile of paperwork, a jacket on the back of the door, and nothing else. Not a coffee mug in sight. Okay, writing's good. In this case, it's a brief paragraph, but it's descriptive, it tells you what you want to see, and it gives you an idea. I like the high-end IKEA display room more than a space anyone works in. I've got a very good visual image of that. Make a luck test. Roll 1 die. On a 5 or more, you see a, and this is in square brackets indicating it's an object, security pass clipped to the jacket. You may take it if you like. Obviously, any of these things operate on an honor system, so I'm going to roll the die, and let's say I get 5 or more. So I take the security pass, and I write it down on my character sheet with that square brackets around it. I can probably tell it's an object or not, but just as a quick glance down, do I have something? And then I'm left with 2 options. To go back to the corridor, turn to paragraph 149. To head through a side door to the canteen, turn to 290. Let's go to the canteen. So I click 290, and it takes me to 290. Huzzah! If you're using an EPUB, it is reflowable. So of course your type size will be relevant here, and you may or may not want to change it around and make it work best for you. But I'm using the PDF right now because I can. It's faster for me. The canteen has a service counter and swinging kitchen door at one end, a bank of vending machines at the other end, and a jumble of cheap tables and plastic chairs in between. There's no one at the counter, but the machines are well stocked. Deadpool spots an instant burrito machine and buries his sword into it, cursing furiously. The machine emits a strangled blare. A couple of guys in blue suits rush in. They see Deadpool and begin blasting away with their pistols. All right. Here's an indication of combat. This is a good paragraph to get to. This is an easy fight. Round 1, roll 2 dice and add your Merc score. Remember, Merc is your physical capabilities, or Deadpool's. If the total is at least 12, you win the first round. Round 2, roll 2 dice and add your Merc. If the total is at least 12, you win the second round. If you lost any rounds, take -1 Merc. So this isn't bad. In Fighting Fantasy, your stamina score would go down in combat as you took damage. And if it hit 0 in the combat, then you were dead. Here, it's not telling me what happens if taking -1 Merc brings me to 0 or a negative score, but we'll pop back to the beginning of the rules and double check on what that happens. In my first playthrough, I was semi-successful in combat or in the test section, and it was sort of set up that if you lose a test, you lose a point in that score. And I don't know that I'm a big fan of that necessarily. I get it for combat, and I get it for the other ones, and I guess I get that you need a countdown to indicate that you're almost out of the game, but I don't know, because it is the same score, kind of felt like it is too much of a death spiral, and Deadpool regenerates. So were it somebody else, sure, but I don't know that 100% hits the Deadpool mark. There are other heroes in other books like this, and it would be very applicable to them. I might give it to Daredevil's tenacious. The whole point is that they're all heroes, and they're very, they're not going to give up until the end. So, who knows really if that's the best way to do it, but that is the way it's done. Okay. So just in double checking, yep, so they do talk about if one of your stats goes negative, it makes your rolls and chances of success worse. And in certain circumstances, it might be game over. Yeah, so I don't know, like, is that too punishing or not? Because once I start getting negative scores, then I am probably going to be losing a lot. And, that will be I love death spirals, but that's a pretty serious death spiral. So your mileage may vary, but I'm not 100% sure that works for me. All right, let's go to another paragraph here. Now to try the kitchen, turn to 104. To follow signs to the break room, turn to 285. To go out into the corridor, turn to 149. Let's go to the break room. This break room holds a bunch of new couches, some low tables, 2 coffee machines, and a foosball table. It's okay. There are half dozen bright yellow lab coats hanging on a long coat rack. If you need disguises, square brackets, you may take them. Do you have foosball lock of 1? That's a quality, because it has curly brackets. If so, curiously, you can use the table to duplicate the odd sequence of moves you saw. This is presumably when you picked up this quality, and a black and gold luck stone pops out of the machine's tray. You may take it and later crush it to automatically win any non-combat test. You could also choose to play Deadpool at foosball. Despite his boasts about being the king of the foosball monsters, he's not that great. Make a luck test, roll 1 die. And here's one of the tests where it gives you specific instructions in there that may be separate from the other ones they're used to. So on a 1 to 3, Deadpool wins and won't shut up about it. Take +1 merc and -1 focus, so he gets better at doing what he does, but much more distracted because he's too busy bragging. 4 to 6, you win and Deadpool sulks. In the reverse, take +1 focus and -1 merc. His confidence is shattered, but he's able to stay focused on the mission. Now to go to the nearby corridor, turn to 149. To go into the canteen, turn to 290. And so you can retrace your steps or take other options that you didn't take on the previous paragraph. And we won't read much further on there. Otherwise, we're going through the whole thing. Things I do like that the rules are abominably simple and that they tell you how to do them when you get to the paragraph. I love fighting fantasy, but they didn't always do that. And you did have to do some jumping back to the beginning where I had the rules section. It was not an extensive one, and it's not a complicated system. But this is nice, and because you only have 1 or 2 6-sided dice, you're just blazing through this pretty easily, and you don't really have to do a lot of looking around. Particularly because this is an ebook, I appreciate the not looking around too much, even if I can go back and I am hyperlinked and so on and so forth. It's still a bit more difficult to do than with the physical book. If you have the physical book, then that's probably a whole other story. So, this is You Are Not Deadpool from Aconite Press, Asmodee Games, a Marvel license by Tim Dodopoulos. And yeah, you are not Deadpool, but you are the 6th assistant who may or may not be succeeded by a 7th or 8th. It might have been funny if they'd found a way to insert some sort of indicator that you may be replaying this because you died, but who knows. Anyhow, it's a fun read. The author captures Deadpool pretty well, captures the flow of it. If you are a GM or aspiring writer, but more particularly GM, this is a good thing to look at, a good kind of product to look at, to get a sense of what you might want to include in your descriptions of places and rooms and scenes that your players enter, because here the author really closely needs to get this idea across to you and tell you everything is in there, and you need to do the same thing. So not a bad thing to pop through, just to kind of hone your skills in that area. So I'll be doing a couple of these. I have an Arkham horror one, and I'm going to be looking at some other kind of solo-y stuff in the future. But for now, my name is Simon for the Tabletop Almanac. Have a great day.